So, Michael, you have a great story concerning your recent viewing of the Barbie movie. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty great story. I don't want to give away too much of what I thought of the Barbie movie because I have a sneaking suspicion that we will review it at some point. That's just a crazy theory of mine. Although I suppose I will say that, it was, like one of the things people are talking about is it too political? And generally speaking, I found the politics to be kind of a little bit silly in a kind of like fun way. But there was one moment, and I don't know if you're aware of this, where the kind of female, kind of, I guess, like audience proxy character, because she's not a Barbie, she's a human being, basically goes on a pretty long speech about how hard it is to be a woman in today's society.
I've heard about this speech, yes.
Yes, and it's like, we've got to be pretty, but not too pretty, or we're accused of being conceited and blah, blah, blah. And, I was kind of sinking into my seat, cringing a bit at just how on the nose this was.
Yes.
And then, suddenly, my film-going experience was completely redeemed, because as she finished and paused, a round of applause echoed around the movie theater. And I was like literally, it was kind of like some, like, you kind of got a slow clap and so I was like, woo! And then, like, it just kind of, like, erupted. And it went from, like, one of the lowest moments of the movie-going experience where I was, like, cringing and not enjoying myself to, like, suddenly becoming the best moment of the entire film.
I love it when a movie just stops, all momentum and has the character just, say the message of the movie directly to the audience, like it's a political speech at a rally. That's my favorite type of movie. That's really good filmmaking. Yeah. So no, I look forward to reviewing that movie. I do. Yes. But yeah, it's time for another feminist masterpiece right now. Gigli.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the film Gigli. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two? I know he's not French, but it seems like a French way of pronouncing it. Why don't you tell us a thing or two about the movie Gigli?
Yes, Michael, Gigli. It's a weird name. I honestly don't know why they picked such a weird surname. Because, of course, it could have been anything. I don't think it has a thematic reason.
I have a theory about it, actually.
Go on.
Okay, so basically, I actually didn't know. I thought this film was like a kind of romantic comedy, and I didn't know...
Well, it is.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know it had any of like the kind of gangster element to it at all. And when I saw like that the movie was called like, Gigli, I was like in my head, I'd always assumed it kind of sounds like a kind of like a nice like it's like giggly, like it's showing people getting along. Like it's just a name that sounds kind of like cute and bouncy. Like, oh, I'm going to see the Gigli movie. And maybe it was kind of put there so that it could be like, people would be like, oh, it's going to be like a fun romantic comedy where nobody gets shot in the head.
That's what they tried to do. Anyway, we're gonna talk about the tone. The tone is wild in this movie, as you have alluded to. This is a fucking crazy movie. But anyway, Gigli, however the fuck you pronounce it. It's Gigli. That's it. Gigli, really Gigli.
Gigli, like a Chinese person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not to be racist, but yeah. Is a 2003 American romantic comedy film. Sorry, comedy crime film.
Yes.
Yes.
This was a crime against comedy.
I love that, mashing a rom-com like that format, which of course was very popular around this time in the early 2000s, mashing that with like a mobster movie. That's great. Can't go wrong there. Written and directed by Martin Brest and starring Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Justin Bartha, Al Pacino.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Don Pacino.
Actually, well, I was going to mention that. This role by Al Pacino is, I think, quite similar to his role in, of course, the classic Adam Sandler movie Jack and Jill. Well, it's not a similar role in terms of he's, like a side character who doesn't appear in too many scenes. He was only in this movie for fucking one scene. But obviously, these movies are absolutely horrible. And he's just in it. Al Pacino's just in them, and he's having fun and he's getting paid probably. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. No one's gonna count this against Pacino. He can appear in as many bad movies as he likes. Nobody's gonna care. It also stars. Oh, also for one scene we get Christopher Walken as well.
Yes, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, you get two like kind of classic famous
Yeah.
actors just showing up for one scene.
I thought he was going to come back because, of course, like he's this police detective, and it's like, oh, he's going to get closer to finding Brian later on in the movie. But no, he shows up for one scene, and then he's gone. Yes.
In a weird way, this film, and this is going to be a great comparison, a very complimentary comparison, and it might just be because I saw a clip from this film today. It reminded me of The Room, in that you have like completely random characters who are like very weird and seem to have like strange quirks they've been written to have, and then they just never show up again.
Yes. No. Well, we'll get onto that in a bit. Also stars Lane Kazan, or however you say it. This movie, Michael, I haven't said who this was directed by and written by. Do you know who
I think you did actually. Didn't you say his name was George Brest?
Sorry, no, I did, yes. I said it was directed by Martin Brest, but...
Martin Brest, yeah.
Sorry, it was also written by Martin Brest. So this is a writer, director, and producer, Martin Brest. Yes. And this, by the way, would you like to know how many movies he directed after Gigli?
I would assume The Office would just come in. Well, I'm guessing, the answer's probably... I think the only, answer that could mean anything would be 0.
That is the correct answer.
Okay, yeah, so he did... Oh, dear. Did he die?
Did
he kill himself?
He is still alive. Yeah, he's still alive. He's still going.
Wow.
It says Martin Brest. Years active.
Think it would? How many movies did he direct before this film?
Years active, 1972 until 2003. That's what it says.
So he was around. Okay, because I was going to say you would think he'd want to direct a movie just so he doesn't end, because I know obviously Quentin Tarantino has the whole thing about he only wants to do 10 films. Because he doesn't want to overstay his welcome.
This guy, I'll tell you, this guy did 11 films.
Oh my god, that's really funny.
Yeah, including Sense of a Woman.
That's Al Pacino won an Oscar for that, didn't he?
Yes, indeed. That's probably why he got him for this movie.
Another Oscar.
Yeah, Midnight Run, Beverly Hills Cop, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So, there's some movies that, are quite famous.
Yeah, it's a bit all over the place. A bit like the tone of this film, there's some inconsistency there.
I love this. The awards. Beverly Hills Cop nominated Golden Globes Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. Midnight Run nominated Golden Globe Best Motion Picture, same musical or comedy. Sense of a Woman won Golden Globe for Drama. Nominated Academy Award for Best Picture, Academy Award for Best Director. Nominated Producers Guild of America Award for Best Theatrical Motion Picture. And then we have Gigli, Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Director, Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Screenplay. So yeah, those are his awards Martin Brest won in his career. It does kind of feel mean to pick on him, but it seems like he wrote this movie, he directed it, he produced it.
This is himself to blame.
Yeah, this is his brainchild, So, yeah, I mean, look, this is a wild movie, and I'm glad it exists. So, I'll say that, I guess. The release date, of course, was August the 1st, 2003. What is the date, Michael?
Oh, it's August. Oh, wow, we're down to the day. It's August the 1st, 2003.
Yeah, indeed. And can you tell me what the budget was for Gigli?
Oh, God. I think this film. So I know this film's a big bomb. I think this was a film that cost a dumb amount of money, or more money than it probably should have, which I guess maybe explains some of the actors and stuff.
Yes.
I guess if I'm thinking more money it should have, maybe 60 million.
Oh, it's 75.6.
Oh, wow.
So maybe Martin Brest just got a ton of money for this, I don't know. That's why he backed out. Because he's like, right, this is my final payday. I'm just going to do a wild script, which I don't really give a shit about. I'm going to include all these weird elements. It's not going to make sense at all. And yeah, that's it. That's me done. But anyway, Michael, of course, 20 years ago, to the exact day, people were filling the cinemas or the theatres in America and across the world, eager to see the new Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck rom-com. It's 2003. These two. They're big Hollywood.
They're hot property.
Yeah, hot property, big Hollywood movie stars. So. And can you tell me, therefore, Michael, how much did Gigli make at the box office?
Well, I assume it must have made at least some, because you'd think people would go to see it initially. I imagine it didn't have a high kind of what's the word? It had quite a high drop off, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I said it was a bomb, which means I feel like it can't have. Let's just go. It made 60 million.
Oh, Michael! Wow, that's not really okay. That would be a disappointment.
It's not a bomb, so it got okay.
Do you want to have
actually,
guess?
60 million is probably too much. Yeah, now I'm thinking about that's stupid. Yeah. So I could see. I mean, I'll go for half as much. I think maybe it made 30 million.
No. You've still gone a lot higher.
Still up?
Yeah. I mean, the summer of 2003. I mean, it must have been a very competitive.
That was when Return of the King.
Well, that was, I think, in December. Yes.
Okay, but, I don't know when things get released.
But yeah, the box office for Gigli was only $7.2 million.
$7.2 million. Well, I don't think I ever could have guessed that low.
No, that is an incredible amount considering the budget. It made back not even 10% of its budget, which is remarkable, really. So, Michael, I mean, hey, 2000. I don't know what was going on, in cinemas in the summer of 2003, but it must have been pretty damn good, right?
They had so many. Yeah, there must have been some other great choices if people weren't going to see this film.
I know, but anyway, can you tell me what your opinion was of Gigli? Did you like this movie?
Well, I have two main problems with it. The things that were visible and the things that were audible. No, my two main problems are, one, the dialogue. This film, and it just has such terrible, just so many terrible lines. And two, as we've already mentioned, the tone. It's kind of interesting because, in a way, almost taken in isolation, this movie could just be a kind of a bit sort of on the nose, kind of feel good, kind of goofy comedy in a way. There were scenes you can be it's look, it's a fun moment. If someone walked in and just watched a scene of this, as long as it weren't, there's a few select scenes where they'd probably be the dialogue was so terrible, but I feel they'd be it's just a fun, kind of quirky little kind of comedy. But when you take it all together and you look at just the fact that every single scene has such terrible dialogue and the tone is so inconsistent, it's a bad movie. It's not good.
I think this maybe goes into a certain category, this movie, which is the category of so bad it's good.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
This movie is a crazy movie. It's a wild movie. It's kind of unbelievable, some of the things you're witnessing, because obviously you see really bad movies a lot, and you're just thinking wow, this is awful. But this stars Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. It's two of the most famous people on earth. I think that is fair to say. Hollywood A-listers, who of course are back together now, as we have mentioned. So yeah, it's that's nostalgia in itself, I guess. But that's the thing, people were excited about. I don't know, excited is the word, but people,
there was some anticipation.
Yeah, I guess there was some anticipation, yes, for this movie, because look, hey, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, they're dating. I think it even says on Wikipedia that there was some initial excitement because the stars were romantically involved. So yeah, despite popular media giving attention and interest to the film during production, because Affleck and Lopez were together, it was heavily panned. And yeah, it was a box office bomb, one of the worst movies of all time. And that's what's great about it. It's just a kind of a, like I said, insane movie. I'm so glad this movie exists. Like I said, I'm really glad this movie exists and we get to watch it and we get to review it. I remember first, I think I first heard about this movie when looking at the Wikipedia section of worst movies of all time. And this,
I think I first heard about this movie, and this is a very good place to have heard of anything, from a Watch Mojo video. It's a Watch Mojo video. It was the worst box office bombs of all time, something like that, which I think how I knew it. But annoyingly, I didn't remember exactly how much it flopped by.
Yeah, no, and of course, you're looking at this and thinking, okay, this must be pretty bad. And okay, movies that are very bad can either just be very bad because they're boring and dull, or they can just be crazy, oh my god, I can't believe I'm watching some of these scenes, the dialogue in some of these scenes, the tone as well, the shift in tone going on, the music in the background is completely in conflict with the scene that is being portrayed.
Oh yes, the music at some points was insane.
Yeah, with the scene that has been portrayed on screen, it's just this is an experimental film. At some points, it's what the hell is going on here, man? And yeah, it does give you that kind of The Room vibe as well. But yeah, and you know what? I think this is. I want to compare this, and this may sound crazy as well. I want to compare this to kind of a Coen Brothers kind of script.
I was kind of thinking that too. Yeah, it's kind of a very wacky premise. You got the hapless kind of criminal.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Coen Brothers comparison too.
Yes, but the thing is that the Coen Brothers, what they do very well is they mix kooky, weird stuff with dark stuff, I guess. And they do have, you mentioned before, of course, actors who just appear in a couple of scenes, and then are gone. like cameos, and this has that, and this is like a crime film set in LA. But yeah, like the movie, like if this was done a different way, perhaps with a director who, again, the person who wrote it directed it, but with a director who could maybe make this into like a Coen Brothers-esque movie, then it could be like salvageable. But that's the thing. It's like you're watching a Coen Brothers movie without like the acknowledgement that what's taking place is actually quite dark and sinister.
Yeah.
And the movie's just playing like happy music in the background, and you're like, wait, no, that's not the right tone here. Like, it's not like a dark comedy comedic tone. Like, it's just a comedy. It's not a dark comedy. Which again, that again is probably the difference. It should, this has potential to be like a dark comedy because of just the premise.
Yeah.
Because the premise is kind of a dark, it's a dark comedic premise. You're capturing this or kidnapping this mentally disabled guy, and you're falling in love with like Jennifer Lopez if you're Ben Affleck, while trying to keep this mentally disabled guy, basically from like I don't know, fucking he's just being very annoying throughout the movie.
Yeah.
It's
just
like
trying to keep him from going wandering.
Yeah. But no, it's played like quite like seriously, and there's no dark comedic moments. It's just comedy. Just
Yes.
like light-hearted comedy, which again does not work. So it's just I think it's it's very interesting for that reason. So let's get into it. Michael, how many nitpicks do you have?
I've got 2.
Okay, I have 1, but you go first.
Okay. First of all, J-Lo had a book the whole time. Obviously, there's a scene where the exceptional individual wants to have a book read to him, or something read to him, and rather comedically. Again, in a moment which actually could pass as entertaining in a film where the rest of the film is better. Ben Affleck like reads the Tabasco like ingredients list to him, but then like J-Lo does a whole thing about, oh, you don't have a book, blah blah, you need a book, blah, and then she's just reading a book in the bed. But the other one is he seems to cut off a thumb, Ben Affleck this is, with like just like kind of standard table cutlery. It almost looked like a plastic knife to me, which I don't know if that was just, but either way, like it definitely wasn't like a sharp knife. It just looked like a regular kind of like knife that I would use at the dinner table, and I don't think that could possibly make sense that you could cut through a thumb with such a knife.
No, that does not make sense. Yes, I don't know why they didn't think to just like get an actual knife. You can buy a knife at a store or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. So, my nitpick, and it's not really a nitpick, honestly. It's just this scene that was very annoying to me, and I didn't know where else to put it. It's the scene where Jennifer Lopez tries to intimidate this kid who's playing loud music.
Oh yeah, that is quite cringy.
And it's just so bad. Like the dialogue, just how cringy it is, and it's just like awful. Like it's disconnected from like the rest of the movie. And I guess it's meant to show like, oh yeah, Ben Affleck is meant to be impressed by her. But yeah, it's just it's such a weird fucking scene. Like
also there are like so many of them. Like, I don't know, like, especially, like, when Ben Affleck, like, breaks the guy's computer, I was thinking, to be honest, even if someone told me, like, consider how, like, expensive, a laptop actually is. Even if someone's just told me a vague story about being able to explode somebody's eyeballs with, like, their fingers or whatever.
Yeah.
If someone smashed my laptop, and I had, like, a whole load of buddies with me, I'd be like, come on, let's get these chumps.
These champs, yes.
Yes.
Come on, Quentin. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's give them a ride to sing
like
to.
that.
Yes, that's it. Yes, but yeah, I think the thing which is crazy about that scene is like it's meant to portray Jennifer Lopez as this kind of badass. Oh, you don't want to mess with her. But then throughout the rest of the movie, you never see her do any like badass stuff. She never gets involved in a fight. She never gets involved in any kind of like scuffle or
that's
whatever.
a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no action scenes which proves how badass she is.
There aren't really any action scenes in the entire film, which is boring.
Exactly. There's the scene at the very beginning where you see Ben Affleck, put somebody in a washing machine. Yeah, or tumble dryer, whatever. And that is meant to show, okay, this guy, he's intimidating. Like, this guy is a bit of a thug. This guy is capable of doing something like that. And you expect Jennifer Lopez to do something later on in the movie that backs up what she said to that kid, but that never happens. So, yeah, it's just like a kind of a pointless scene, to be honest. But I guess it's meant to show Ben Affleck's like, oh, this chick is, this chick's kind of cool, maybe I do want to bang her despite her being a lesbian.
Which is, to be fair, a very important goal to achieve,
Yes, despite her being a Digosaurus Rex.
Yes, that is something someone says, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, did you think I just made that up on the spot? Did you not remember?
No. Is that the bit where he like he's like, do you want to know why I'm sad all the time?
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah, because he goes around. He's like, I'm sad. Like I don't know. Is it like, he's like, I'm lying there next to a Dicosaurus Rex.
Yes. But yeah, that doesn't. To be fair, like that doesn't explain why he doesn't have friends. Like that like you can be sad and unhappy with your life and still have friends. Like you have to be a real, especially like pre-internet, like in 2003, like to just be like a gangster, like who doesn't have friends. That's
also
weird.
Pre-internet, if you're friends with a lesbian, I feel like that would get you more friends.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. You can't really tell anybody about it, of course.
Don't have to use the dial-up modem to see my friend Jennifer Lopez.
No, I guess so. But yeah, again, she's not Jennifer Lopez, is she, though, Michael? She's
actually, what is her name?
Ricky, which of course is a guy's
Ricky.
name. Which I'm sure that was done on purpose.
Yeah.
And then her actual name is Rochelle, which is much more feminine and therefore much better.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, because that shows. No, I actually am a woman, a normal woman who likes men, and I'm not a Dicosaurus Rex. I can't believe he said that line. It's like Tyrannosaurus doesn't rhyme with like Dicosaurus.
That's
like I don't know how the Martin Brest came up with that line, but fair play to him. Anyway, so shall we get into the plot, Michael, of Gigli?
Yes, yeah, we should.
Okay, so Gigli, Ben Affleck, is ordered to kidnap the. I called him mentally disabled.
I called him an exceptional individual.
That's the thing. Like, I think this point was made before by people a lot smarter than me. Like, when you're talking about people who are mentally, I guess, challenged or mentally disabled or mentally handicapped, whatever word you want to use, it becomes automatically offensive. Because it's like the word retard back in the day.
Yeah.
Meant, people were openly called retarded who were like this character, Brian.
Yeah, it used to be like a medical term.
Yeah, a medical term. But then everyone started calling everybody retarded, and all of a sudden it became like offensive. Like, because you're like, this mentally handicapped person, so you're retarded. But then so, okay, now we can't call these kind of people retarded, even though, of course, it was a medical term because it's now become offensive. So we're going to call them like mentally disabled or mentally handicapped, mentally challenged. But now that might be offensive as well. So
yeah, well, it's like how I think I've said before at my school, and I think it's just like a common thing now. Actually, they had like SEN, which stands for like special educational needs, which is like clearly not intended to insult anybody, but kids literally used to run around being like, "Oh, SEN" to each other.
Well, yeah, it wasn't SEN, just special. Like,
yeah,
hey,
exactly,
you're a fucking special person or specialty. But that's like, it's always going to be offensive, so you're going to have to keep coming up with new language. And indeed, I see on Wikipedia, Brian is referred to as psychologically challenged.
Psychologically challenged. Well, yeah, to be fair, they don't actually even clarify, like, because sometimes he seems like he's kind of autistic, but then like
no,
other times he seems
it's the standard thing from the early 2000s, like in I Am Sam, or
just acting like a kid, basically, is how they do it, I guess.
Yeah, like, we're not going to specify what issue he has. He's just like quote unquote retarded. Of course, we can't say that in the script. You're playing a retarded guy, but we all know what we mean when. Yeah. We all know what you have to do. We all know the way you have to play this character. Yes. And of course, Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder summed that up nicely. Never go full retard. You can be a bit retarded, never full retarded. Because that is it is quite offensive. But of course we'll get to that. But anyway, the psychologically challenged. But he's not psychologically challenged. He is like, I'd say mentally challenged would be the more accurate term. But again, maybe that is offensive. But anyway, he is the younger brother of a powerful federal prosecutor. When a plan goes wrong, Gigli's boss sends in Ricky, a gorgeous, free-spirited female gangster.
Oh wow!
Who has her own set of orders to assist with the kidnapping. But Gigli begins falling for the decidedly unavailable Ricky, which could be a hazard to his occupation. They kidnap this mentally challenged guy in this movie and have some wacky romantic hijinks. It's such a crazy premise. You've got like this cutesy romance of, a guy wanting the girl, but he can't have her, but the girl slowly falling for the guy. They have to deal with each other, and eventually they fall in love. Like those are the various tropes that I guess go on in romantic comedies. They're butting heads, and then they end up giving head to each other. Yes, which of course is what
gobble gobble.
Yes, again, gobble gobble, fucking hell.
Oh dear.
But this cutesy romance, that's standard in rom-coms, but then then you've got the fact that they've captured this mentally challenged guy as well. Like the contrast is just so stark. But again, on a meta level, watching this, it's funny. Like just imagining, Martin Brest coming up with this movie, imagining them filming this being released, this actually being a thing. That is what makes it funny and interesting to watch.
Yeah. It's very. The whole thing, it's kind of funny because it is almost like a parody of the kind of guy with a gruff exterior kind of changes and becomes reformed in some sort of way. Where it's the fact that the way they decided to go down that route was by having him develop a kind of weird three-way friendship with a mentally disabled man and an attractive lesbian woman. And it's just such a funny route to go down, such a funny choice to make.
Yeah, and that is the thing. I think it could have worked. This premise and plot, again, I think I mentioned the Coen brothers, because it is kind of a dark premise. They're capturing this mentally challenged, this extremely vulnerable, innocent person, obviously, who is just fine being kidnapped, because he doesn't know any better, because he's got the mental age of I don't know, a 5-year-old. I don't know. But and that really is a cruel thing to do. Obviously, on the face of it, it's a very cruel thing to go and kidnap this person. Who obviously it has the mind of a child, but also this movie doesn't really treat it as a cruel thing, as a dark thing. This movie doesn't acknowledge that this could be a dark comedy. It's just lighthearted comedy, and again, that the tone is so off. But again, if you give it against the Coen brothers, maybe they'd see, there is a potential for a dark comedic movie here. Because I do see potential in this premise, but you can't have this tone. You can't play it straight with the comedy, I guess, and just try and make it a rom-com, a normal rom-com, because it's not going to work. But yeah, obviously that's the reason why Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck signed up for this. But yeah, and it's crazy as well how awful Ben Affleck's character is as well. And of course at the start of the movie he's just awful, and it's just you're just watching the opening few scenes and you're like, what the fuck is going on here, man? What the whose idea was this? This is just such a terrible mishmash of genres and ideas, and it's I will again maintain this could have possibly worked, but obviously, Michael, the tone is the craziest thing about this movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the fact, and it's kind of weird because it's almost you get to the end of it and it's really difficult to just process what you've just watched, because it's kind of at the end of it you're just oh, I guess they're in, they're being friends now, but it's just kind of it's just weird the way that characters achieve catharsis it's kind of in a way, it's this film, because what I'm thinking about is another example of a black comedy with a crime element is the Grand Budapest Hotel. And what I remember about that is that it was obviously kind of a silly, goofy Wes Anderson film, but it's punctuated by moments of genuine bloody brutality. Someone gets their fingers chopped. Someone gets their fingers chopped off, and it's used as some kind of ransom thing or something like that. Someone gets their head chopped off, and you see their decapitated head, and that's kind of one of the ways you would make a kind of black comedy work. And with this film, it's kind of a black comedy that kind of doesn't fully have balls. So it's kind of
yes,
it wants to sort of be a black comedy by having the story about these people who basically kidnap and hold ransom a mentally disabled person, but then it also wants to be a fun, family-friendly comedy that
no, but that's the thing,
grandma can enjoy or something.
I don't think it wants to be a black comedy. You say, it lacks balls. I don't think it wants to be anywhere near a black comedy.
I don't think it just wants to be a fun kind of family-friendly thing.
Yeah, a fun rom-com. That's what it wants to be. And it can't be that with this premise, it doesn't work. You need to make it a dark comedy. But again, I don't think Martin Brest and probably J-Lo and Ben Affleck had any interest in doing something like that. So, do you know what Gigli's first name is, by the way?
Larry, isn't it? Larry.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason why is because his mum kind of reminds me of the wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she's always like,
yes,
Larry.
Yes. Is a low-ranking LA mobster who is not nearly as tough as he likes to act. Louis, a higher-ranking member of Gigli's operation, commands him to kidnap the mentally challenged younger brother of a powerful federal prosecutor to use as a bargaining chip to save New York-based mob boss Starkman from prison. Gigli successfully convinces the young man, Brian, to go off with him by promising to take him to the Baywatch, apparently a reference to the television show of that name, which seems to be Brian's singular obsession. Like, what a great start to the movie. You know, first, obviously, he gets the money from the guy who looks like Mario in the laundromat. And yeah, then he kidnaps this mentally challenged guy. It's just a fantastic first few minutes. And again, I don't know what it was, but in the early 2000s, like, mentally challenged characters were popular.
Yes, because of course, famously, this reminded me of the classic film we've reviewed. What's it called? Like, I Am Jack, or I Am Sam is what I think.
I Am Sam, yes, of course. I Am Sam, where Sean Penn plays a guy very similar to this.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to know what this guy, by the way, what other movies he's been in?
Yeah, I do, actually.
So I believe, yes, this is what I recognized him from. He was in the 2009 comedy The Hangover.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So does he play like one of the main four? I can't really. I haven't seen those. Yeah, okay, yeah. Who is he? Is he like?
Well, do you remember the premise?
I mean, I remember the premise of The Hangover. I've seen The Hangover once a long time ago. I remember the ending. I guess the ending's that the guy is on the roof.
Yeah, he is the guy on the roof. Yes.
Oh, he's the guy on the roof. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So is he the guy they're looking for?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and of course, what is he in the movie?
Is he the groom?
Yes. There you go. Okay. So you do remember. Yes,
I do, yeah, I had to put it together in my head, yeah.
Yeah, and they lost him the night before and they have to retrace their steps. Just a great idea for a movie.
Yes, I have seen that. Have you seen the later ones? Are they good? This is completely off topic. I'm just wondering.
I have, yes, and no, they are not as good.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually, like, the third one is okay, but the second one is quite bad, from what I can tell. But yes, starring Ed Helms,
yes, also known as box office cancer.
Yes, indeed. So let's get back to Gigli now. So yeah, shout out to Justin Bartha. What a career you've had. His first role was Gigli, by the way.
Oh, wow.
In movies. So yeah, what a great start. But yeah. Obviously, yeah. It's very funny that this guy's favorite TV show is Baywatch, like not Sesame Street.
Yes.
I don't know. It's like, why is he obsessed with Baywatch? Why? Maybe it should be something like General Hospital or something. You know, like an awful soap. You know, but maybe it had to be Baywatch because they could get access to Baywatch. You know.
Yeah. Also, like, maybe they were, like, thinking backwards from that beautiful scene at the beach. Maybe they were thinking about a film of similar quality to this, Shawshank Redemption, how, like, the Pacific Ocean represents freedom.
So, Watanehu. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is, Baywatch is fucking Brian Zawatanehu. Even though that doesn't really make sense, because he seemed to be fine, actually. That's the thing, like, Ben Affleck just kidnaps him. It's a very cruel thing. He just takes him from this obviously home where he's looked after and he obviously has special needs and he's, you know, he needs to be cared for, and he just takes him, and like the movie just, again, it's like a light-hearted rom-com, and it's just such a cruel thing to do to this guy. Like, you know, it's so cruel that he just like yeah we're gonna see Baywatch. Yeah.
It's just like kind of like mocking him, like, oh no, I've got a call on the phone, sorry, Baywatch is cancelled.
Yeah. It's just, and again, it works if it's a dark comedy, but it's not, which is just why it's so fucking funny on a meta level, right? So Louis does not trust Gigli to get the job done right, so he hires a woman calling herself Ricky to take charge. Gigli is attracted to Ricky, but he resents both Louis' lack of faith in him and having to take orders from a woman. Yeah,
oh, wow.
He's a toxic man, Michael.
Yes.
Like, this is what the Barbie movie was railing against. You know?
No, yeah, it's true, actually.
When will low-level mobsters accept that, yeah, women can be just as good as them.
Yeah, I mean, this film definitely like is missing out some exciting element to it. Although I suppose maybe it's a good thing not to to show, what is it, like it's a vision of female empowerment where you don't have to be violent, because that's something that people are often complaining about, where women's empowerment is just shown by them being strong in the way men are, whereas here it's slightly more sophisticated. Is women's empowerment is pretending to be just as strong in the way men are.
Yes, that's the thing. Her job is to be like as strong as men are, or as intimidating. Like that's the whole point of being like a low level gangster, But anyway, I just love this next line on Wikipedia. Gigli is also frustrated by Brian's insistence on going to the Baywatch. It's just such a ridiculous premise, but again, I just kind of respect. I think there's respect that they put this premise in the movie. Like it just had all these elements put together. Just what a crazy idea. Do you think Martin Brest was on some kind of substance when he wrote this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that seems like very credible. Or maybe he got so invested in writing for the mentally challenged character that he began to become mentally challenged. Like maybe it was kind of a life imitates art situation.
Okay. But yeah, just my take from the opening few scenes as well is Ben Affleck is playing such an unlikable character that he hasn't any charm about him.
Yeah.
Like he's mean to the mentally disabled, like, and he's mean to fucking Ricky, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
And like he's just a bit of a dick. And it's like, so we're meant to be like, as an audience member, if since this is a rom-com, you're like, oh yeah, I can see why Jennifer Lopez wants to fall in love with him. He's a bit rough around the edges, but he's got a good heart. There's just none of that. None of that comes through.
Yeah, he comes across like a right dickhead. Like, I mean, obviously the elephant in the room with all of this is that he basically like is trying to, maybe not so extremely, but definitely at least quite conspicuously pressure a self-identified lesbian into considering him, a man, as a romantic interest, which comes across as inherently kind of sleazy.
Okay, yeah, but we're not onto that yet. We will get onto that.
Okay, yeah, good. Like that's the thing. So him being kind of just a bit of a knob, a little bit obnoxious, is definitely a thing that makes you think, he's not. I mean, apart from, I guess, the fact that he's not willing to mutilate a mentally challenged person, which I suppose is, that's what it takes to be a nice guy.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, but that's the thing. Again, is there is meant to be a certain charm to rom-coms.
Yes.
But you couple, this character, Ben Affleck, who's such a dick. There's no charm about him, and you couple that with the premise, of course, of them kidnapping this mentally challenged person, and it's just like this movie is just so far away. Like again, in tone, we're gonna say the word tone 1,000 times.
Yeah.
From where it should be. Anyway, Gigli is also annoyed by the fact that Ricky is a lesbian. So we're on to this now. And I don't know if we are meant to be like, oh, Ben Affleck, nothing is going your way, huh? This gorgeous woman who's sleeping in your bed is a lesbian. But he's such a dick. I fail to see like the funny side of it. Like he deserves that. He deserves all the pain that's coming to him, It's, there isn't like the quirky thing you would expect in this scenario, like, oh, he really likes this girl, oh look, he's stretching, oh, he's showing off his muscles, oh but she's a lesbian, oh no, it's just like,
it just comes across kind of like mean-spirited kind of.
This guy's a fucking prick. Like, no, I'm not on this movie's level, Anyway, a suspicious detective comes to the apartment to question Gigli in reference to Brian's disappearance. And of course, this is the great Christopher Walken, Michael.
Yes.
A great little role, the best of his career. Again, I thought he was going to return because he's a detective, and he'd get closer to figuring out where Brian was, but obviously not, right? No, this is very much Christopher Walken showing up in set for like 3 hours and then he's done.
Yes.
Done for the day. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I wrote down in my notes, I just wrote down Christopher Walken shows up and is weird. And I can't even remember what he said. Like, he says,
I'll tell you what he said.
Kind of weird, like, gimmick going on.
He said, "You wouldn't happen to know anything about a retarded brother of a federal prosecutor being kidnapped, would you?" Like, I can't do his voice. It's hard to do his voice. But yeah, he's just very weird, which you would expect.
I was just in the neighborhood, and I was wondering, is there anything going on with this retarded gentleman?
Have you seen any retards around here?
Yeah, classic.
But yeah, no, he that's the thing. We're kind of mocking his character, but he just shows up for one scene and goes. Like, it's just so pointless. What is the point in that scene? Because of course, Al Pacino's character has an important role to play in the actual plot. This guy, I feel like that scene could have been cut and everything would have been like fine, right?
I suspect you are right to feel that way.
Yes, indeed. So Gigli is further annoyed when his mother. This is just like Ben Affleck's character just getting fucking like owned over and over again and embarrassed, which, he should get embarrassed and owned because he's an awful person. Gigli is further annoyed when his mother immediately bonds with Ricky and they team up to needle him. Okay, so this is one of the scenes where the tone is just so off and so wrong and weird. This is I think the scene where it shines the most because, you're having this funny scene with Ben Affleck going, "Oh, ma, what you mean you're a fucking lesbian? Oh, ma, you're embarrassing me, ma, come on, ma." And, his mother's like, "Oh, I used to be a lesbian," like Jennifer Lopez, and they're having fun at his expense.
I did a little bit of experimenting myself back in the day. Oh, ma, why are you telling me that? I don't want that image in my head.
Come on, Brian, this mentally challenged guy I've kidnapped. Come on, let's get out of here. Back in the car. Like, it's just like,
ma, don't embarrass me in front of the retard by telling him you're a lesbian. Come on.
Yeah. The retard that I just kidnapped. Come on, ma. Come on. Yeah, it's just, again, like, she doesn't question why this guy, this fucking mentally challenged guy is, okay, right, you're friends with this lesbian, a bit weird, okay, but like, what this guy, what is the deal with this guy? She just never asks that question because, again, like, they'd, to be honest, based on this movie's record, they would make some light-hearted comedy out of it. Yeah, it's just that is when the tone is just so crazy. That scene sticks out in my mind. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. Also, it's worth noting that before then, he's like injecting. I guess is it like insulin? I don't know what it is that people get injected into their butts. Like I know there's like a specific. Maybe there's like several, but like I've seen like people having to like get like injected in their butts before. But yeah, so he's before that he has to inject his mum in the butt while she's displaying full-on crack. Yeah, and not insignificant amount of crack is on display.
A non-insignificant amount of crack.
Yes,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, but okay, right. So after that, okay, so this is the start of, I guess, once I don't know why Jennifer Lopez wants to like meet his mother and like have banter with his mother. Because that kind of implies that she kind of likes him or she's kind of interested in him.
Yeah.
Based on what he has shown so far, if I was Jennifer Lopez, especially being a lesbian, I would not have any interest in like seeing his mother or like having some
unless you could find out who was responsible.
So that they've gone from like the butting head stage to the kind of like, oh, will they, won't they stage.
Yes.
Like they're kind of like, oh, are these two gonna, fall in love perhaps? Now we're getting closer to that. And the way that, of course, we get even closer is this crazy scene. One of the cringiest and funniest scenes I have ever seen, honestly. Jennifer Lopez is doing yoga, and Ben Affleck walks in, and it's quite a, the way the scene is lit, it's lit in quite a, like, I guess, seductive or romantic.
It's like kind of like turn the lights down low.
Yeah, the lights are down low, like, it's a very kind of seductive kind of vibe. That's what the director's going for, but that is in direct contrast with the dialogue. Because, again, like Ben Affleck goes on a little monologue, about why having sex with a guy is better because of, genetics, but Jennifer Lopez, follows up with one of the weirdest and strangest monologues I've ever heard about, or seen in a movie, about why people like vaginas, including her, all while doing sexy poses in front of Ben Affleck.
And it's because people like to kiss lips.
Yes, people like to kiss lips, and she describes like penises as like slugs, and like, and that's the thing. At the end, she says, "And I'm proud to have," what did she say? Like a pussy, like that. It's just like the language is quite crass, which again is fine, but again the tone, it's meant to be like a seductive like vibe going on with the lighting and the music in the background. You got this soft, gentle music going on in the background. The tone is so off, it is so bad.
Yeah, it kind of feels like in a way almost like somebody trying to do like Tarantino, because it's kind of like the idea of characters kind of having very direct conversations without like much of a filter. But obviously what it comes across as is just like awkward and like, you know, you just can't believe that any real human beings would have this conversation.
No, I can imagine. No, that's the thing. I disagree with that. Okay. I can imagine this conversation happening, but it's the fact that in the background and with the lighting again, it's just in direct contrast to the conversation. You know, because this could be like a kind of a quirky conversation, and I think Tarantino would have this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
In his movie, but he wouldn't play like soft, gentle music in the background, would he?
No.
Because that would just be like, what the fuck is going on here? Is this meant to be like a, you know, is Jennifer Lopez meant to be seducing Ben Affleck? Is this meant to be like a kind of a romantic kind of thing? Or is she like just being crass and that's the humor in it, you know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, again, the tone, Michael, what are they going for here with these kind of scenes? I don't know, but it's fun to watch, even though it is kind of a car crash. And yeah, I just think in general, like obviously Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck were dating at the time. There just seems to be a serious lack of chemistry in this movie between them.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Maybe it's just poor directing, but they just don't seem to be like, you know, there's nothing there, Michael, you know, which is crazy considering, of course, they were dating in real life, right?
Yeah, well, I think to be fair, it would be difficult to make the kind of like the characters, like make them have chemistry when the characters themselves are so unappealing, or well, specifically, while Ben Affleck's character is so unappealing. Like, for all we know, like they could have been the most in love in the world, but when you've got to deliver that kind of dialogue, maybe it would be difficult to make it work. But yeah, I will agree, like, the fact that they were dating when this movie came out is not something that you can pick up in their performance at all.
No, I think that would be fair to say, yes. So, events take a darker turn when Gigli and Ricky receive orders to cut off Brian's thumb, something neither wants to do. Again, the shift in tone is mad.
Yes.
So, yeah, the next scene, you know, Brian is dancing to rap music and, you know, saying, you know, don't be a player hater, G, you know, which of course it's meant to be funny because, hey, look, the mentally challenged white guy likes rap music. Isn't that just hilarious? Yeah. That's very, very like early 2000s comedy.
No, yeah, I was thinking that. Although, of course, it's also a comedy point in the classic M. Night Shyamalan film, The Visit.
Her ex-girlfriend Robin shows up at the apartment. So yeah, Ricky's ex-girlfriend. I just remember the scene.
Yes.
Sorry, in terms of like just random weird scenes that somehow bond Ricky and Ben Affleck together, or Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's their characters together. So she comes in, Robin, this weird like ex-girlfriend of Ricky, and she accuses Ricky of changing her sexual orientation.
Yes.
And then I was like, yeah, this is just a, you know, kind of a melodramatic scene, whatever. This is, I'm not sure what the purpose is here. And then Robin then goes over to the kitchen drawer and slits her wrists.
Yes.
And attempts suicide by self-mutilation and is rushed to the hospital. What a fucking scene. What a just insane thing to put in your movie.
Yes.
I don't... And that character never returns. I don't think she's mentioned again. This moment is never mentioned again. Which is what an insane movie, Michael. Yeah, isn't that right?
Yeah. No, yeah. Like, and again, like, this is another example. I mean, again, like, I compare it to The Room, but it's even weirder than The Room because it's like this incredibly significant thing happens. But, yeah. It just is completely random because what?
I honestly laughed when she like slit her wrist.
I didn't realize it had happened for a second. I mean,
it's just I mean, that's the thing. If she had a role in the movie, it would make more sense if she was mentioned beforehand or after. But yeah, just the fact that, you know, just how weird it is, you know, the tone shift again. From like some banter between Ricky and Gigli and Robin about, oh, are you sleeping with him now? And then she just goes over to the kitchen and slits her wrists. And yeah, it's especially funny looking back at it now because she never is relevant in the movie again.
Yeah, like that thing. There are several, like there are so many moments of this where there are characters who are just so strange, and then it's only when you like looking back on this film, you're just like, wow. What the hell happened? Why were any of these people here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, in the moment, it's kind of weird, but looking back on it, it's even weirder. Yeah. You weren't freaked out by the slitting of the wrists? Because I know that gets you something.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think, so I was going to say, like, credit to them. Maybe I'm gonna give the film some credit. They weren't really gratuitous with the wrist slitting, which I did appreciate, you know? Which is why, yeah, like I say, it was shocking that I didn't even realize it happened. I was just like, or like, you know, I was like, she did it, and I was like, oh wait, oh wow, okay. But no, yeah, it wasn't bad actually. But yeah, I did actually, as it happens, I watched the film The Nice Guys yesterday, which is also about like a kind of crime. It's kind of crime thriller, but it's very good actually. And that has somebody accidentally slitting their wrist in it, and that is much more gratuitous. And it made me feel gross. So this film is better than The Nice Guys because at least it didn't make me feel gross.
Okay, there we go. Yes. So Gigli and Ricky go back to his apartment, where he confesses his love and they sleep together. A natural thing for two characters to do after they've been told by their boss to cut off this mentally challenged guy's thumb, and also she has just seen her ex-girlfriend slit her wrists in front of them. So the next, natural.
Maybe
thing
she just realized that was when she realized oh, women are like a hassle,
Yeah, bitches be crazy. I'm gonna now sleep with Ben Affleck, who has shown throughout the movie he is of course not crazy, and he's very he's very level-headed, and I think reasonable. Yeah, that's Ben Affleck's character. But yeah, again, this is the early 2000s where people didn't know anything about sexuality.
Yes.
Or I would say movies didn't really. People could be gay and then straight. It's like switching teams in football.
Yeah.
I'm on one team. Okay, now I'll try the other team. I'm not sure really what I like, and that's the thing. That is different to being bisexual, which this movie I don't think mentions that word, despite Jennifer Lopez's character possibly being bisexual.
Yes,
but they never mention that. Like Ben Affleck never says, "Hey, maybe you're bisexual." Maybe.
Yeah, which would be slightly less creepy.
Well, yeah, I mean that would I guess less creepy, and it also would make sense in terms of like
people
she's
can
had
be bisexual.
Yeah, people can be bisexual. This movie just is like, oh yeah, you're either gay or straight, and okay now, and not only that, but you can change and you can be gay and then straight. When again the concept of bisexuality is right there for them to use as an excuse as to why Jennifer Lopez might sleep with Ben Affleck, but they just never use that excuse. So yeah, again, I think it's just a case of the early 2000s. Have you seen that image of I think it's from like the mid 90s, and it's like a Newsweek cover, like a magazine cover, and it says like a new sexuality emerges, like bisexuality.
Oh really? No, I've never seen that before actually.
And it's like in the mid 90s, and I just look back at that and think like, for us now it's very obvious. Like some people are lesbians, some people are gay, some people are bisexual.
Which I mean, to be fair, like even nowadays, like like people will say like you'll get a straight guy who will like if the idea of them being like attracted to a guy comes up, they'll be like, but I'm not gay, and it's like, well, technically you wouldn't be gay if you were attracted to a guy, because you would be bisexual, because if you're a straight guy then you're presumably attracted to women. Like, and that's the thing, because like that's like something I'll be like every now and then. Like it's like if I said like, oh, I'm gay for Timothy Chalamet because he's so sexy, or whoever your man crushes. Well, you wouldn't actually
say that all the time.
Yeah, you wouldn't be gay for him though. You'd actually be bisexual for him.
I just remember, and this is something that is buried in the deep recesses of my mind, and this movie brought that back to the fore. I assume you remember there was this soap on in the UK it ran before then, but I watched it in the 2000s. It was called The Bill.
I remember The Bill.
Yes. I don't know when it stopped, but it isn't on TV anymore. And obviously it's about a police station in London, I think. And all the goings on there. And I remember the storyline. It was like there's this character who fell in love with a female police officer, a male police officer, falls in love with a female police officer. Well, I don't know if he falls in love, whatever. They're engaged. That's the point. And then he has an affair with another police officer who's a male. And both characters are asking him like, hey, are you gay or are you straight? Which one are you?
Yes.
And I just remember thinking like, well, what if he likes both men and women? But that was never even considered as a possibility.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you like men or do you like women? Anyway, so yes, Gigli and Ricky are summoned to meet with the mob boss. Starkman reveals that he did not approve of the plan to kidnap a federal prosecutor's brother or cut off Brian's thumb. He nevertheless rages at them because it didn't match Brian's fingerprints, and therefore not only failed to increase pressure on the prosecutor, but even undermine their credibility. Yeah. Here's the thing. I think that's BS though, because it could just be a warning to the family.
True.
Next time it'll be his actual thumb, Do you think that would be...
Yeah. Also, I will say this, if you're going to send like a digit as a warning, you shouldn't send the thumb because the thumb is the most useful digit. If you want to do a warning, you should start with like the ring finger because that's not very useful, especially on the right hand because you don't even wear a ring on that hand. That's like the most, and then maybe the little finger. You work your way up to thumb.
Wait, that's why. What about just sending a toe?
Well, yeah, actually, no. See, that's what you should do. Like, yeah, again, sending a thumb, like that's not a warning. That's very extreme. Like now, even if they have it, I mean, he's already mentally handicapped, and now he's not going to have an opposable thumb.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm just thinking from the fingerprint perspective.
Oh yeah.
Like, do toes don't have like fingerprints, right? I've never heard that.
No, yeah, I guess they don't. Yeah, like
so the thing to do in that situation would be to send a toe or a and that of course is something that Louis told him to do, but yeah, that is something that again would mean that if you want to have an actual threat or think this brother has had his toe cut off or a part of his body, that would be the thing to do. Again, maybe Louis is just too dumb for that.
Yeah.
But again, he gets shot, but it's hard to imagine like a gangster being that dumb and not considering fingerprints when obviously in just like a couple of minutes we have realized what would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's like we would make much better murderous gangsters.
But yeah, it's crazy to see Al Pacino in this movie. I think he has been in better mob movies, right?
I mean, he was in the movie Heat, which also features some funny dialogue because he says, "She's got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it," like that.
Yes, that didn't sound Al Pacino-esque.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of made it sound for some reason. I can't help but make him sound like Chow got your head. I don't know why. Like he always ends up sounding kind of like I don't know. I don't want to use a racially charged word, but ghetto.
No, that's definitely not racially charged. Good. I don't know how anyone could perceive that as racially charged. Yeah. So anyway, Starkman then kills Louis in retaliation for the kidnapping and the associated scrutiny by law enforcement. Yeah, it is kind of crazy that Louis just did this by himself.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Like, surely if you were to do something like this, you would have been told to do it. Anyway, he is about to kill Ricky and Gigli, but she talks him out of it. She points out that they only know where Brian is, and only they can silence and prevent him from revealing Starkman's organization's involvement in the kidnapping. I mean, I guess so. So that they're basically they're saying we're gonna kill him, right?
Yeah, I think that was the implication. Like, which I don't know why they would actually believe. Like, it's a bit weird that Al Pacino believes that when they weren't even willing to, hurt him.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if I was Al Pacino, I'd be like, wait, you told him about why he's been kidnapped? Isn't he a fucking retard? Like, I would have got Al Pacino to say that. Like, isn't he a fucking dum-dum? Why the fuck did you tell him?
Yeah.
They leave Starkman's and then decide to leave them up because of course they do, and Starkman somehow didn't foresee that as a possibility. You're just about to kill them and then you let them go. So yeah, what do you think they might do?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and they discuss taking Brian back to where they found him, but on the way they discover a Baywatch-like music video filming on the beach. Brian begs to be let off, and finally they consent. It's just a fucking insane thing to have happen.
Yes.
Like, when Brian is dancing with the Australian Baywatch girl, I was laughing out loud, Michael. I don't know. It's just what a crazy end to this movie. Like
like it also ends in like such a sincere way, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, like they just let him go, and it's treated as a wholesome thing after they kidnapped him. I can't get over that. Like, he's this innocent, vulnerable guy. One of the members of society who needs to be treated with the utmost care because of the condition he has. And yeah, they just kidnap him, and they're like, oh yeah, it may be better to return you like home, but no, the responsible thing is to just leave you on this fucking beach. I guess he does call his brother, so he does do that. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, we'll miss you, champ. We kidnapped you, and we basically took you away from like medical professionals who, of course, know your condition and know how best to treat you. Yeah, you could have fucking killed yourself like 16 times in our apartment because obviously they didn't supervise him all the time. Yeah, because it is one of the to kidnap anyone, of course, is bad. Naturally, of course, it's illegal. But to kidnap this person specifically and just lure him out by saying, "Hey, we're going to."
But I think they kind of got something out of like when he like seemed sad about like going home to like the mental health place. I feel like they kind of did that to make it seem like
it's not a mental health place.
Yeah, I don't know what. It's an insane asylum. I don't know what it is. A care home. Basically, they kind of like they make him seem sad about the idea of going there. So it almost like I think the film like tries to push in like this kind of like almost like found family thing where it's like he actually feels a stronger connection to Ben Affleck.
He was happier with them than he was back at that care home.
It's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like he needs to be there because he has a mental condition. Like that's the thing. He doesn't know what is best for him. So yes, maybe he is happier with them, or maybe that's what the implication. But it doesn't matter. That's the wrong implication. But yeah, just at the ending as well. It's just such a random, no stakes ending. Do you know what I mean? Like
like that's it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and I kind of just realized that's just as you said it. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, there is no stakes. Like they don't have to escape the mob trying to kill them after Starkman found out they were lying about killing Brian. Like it's just so boring. Like they just like go, and again this would be, I guess you haven't had an action scene throughout the movie, but it'd be kind of fun if they had a car chase and Jennifer Lopez showing some of her skills as they leave her, and some of like Starkman's other men try to kill him. It's
it literally is just like, and then the film ends. Like that's it.
Yeah, like they almost die. Right, Starkman is about to kill them. Right, Al Pacino's character is about to kill them, and then they say, "No, don't kill us. We'll go and kill Brian." I assume that's the implication. And then he says, "Okay," and then that's it. Yeah. They're off the hook. They're off the hook. There's no tension after that. After almost dying, it's just an awful way to end the movie. And anyway, Gigli convinces Ricky to take his car to escape to parts unknown, but at the last minute she returns to pick him up, and they leave town together. Yeah, just a very predictable ending as well. It's just not very dramatic. It shows Ben Affleck's character growth or something. I don't know why he'd do that. So yeah, I think that ending was bad as well. So anyway, Michael, let us conclude. You go first.
All right, yeah. So basically everything about this film, it barely even functions as a film, as a movie, as a story. There's just so many like random characters, random plots. There's not really any development for the main characters. The main character himself is entirely unlikable. A lot of the dialogue is very cringy. We didn't actually like talk that much about the whole gobble gobble thing, which I recognized when that line was said. I remembered it's like included in like one of those kind of worst lines of dialogue in the history of all humanity, kind of like compilation videos. The it's turkey time and gobble gobble. Obviously just terrible dialogue, but to be fair, some of it entertainingly bad, and the tone is all over the place. Yeah, like I said, I don't hate this movie. I think it's obviously entertainingly bad.
Yeah, I don't think you can hate it.
And the other thing about it is like I say, if you take like parts of this film in isolation, it comes across as kind of like just a dumb, sappy, like feel good film, rather than being like. So there's not like one singular moment where I'm just like, oh, this is terrible. So much as it's just like taking the film as a whole. You're just like, what the hell was that? Anyway, I guess all that said, I guess I'm gonna give it like a low 3. Like this film's been considered like one of the worst of all time. So low 3 is kind of higher than other people might give it, but yeah, I think that's a just reflection of how I feel about it. Not very good, but not terrible.
I am going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 10, which may seem a bit high considering how awful it is, but it's just like it does fall into that category of so bad it's good. And you have these so bad it's bad or offensively bad movies that are like 1 or 2 out of 10. This is not that. This is a bit better than that. So yeah, I think a 3.5 out of 10 is fair because it's the tone is so off and the tone is so crazy in some of these scenes that it just becomes entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Again, and that is, if your movie is bad, at least make it entertainingly bad. And this is what this director did. So yeah, shout out to Mr. Brest. You did a fantastic job.
Good job, Mr. Brest.
Mr. Brest. Yes, shout out Martin Brest. But yeah, so. Again, we've talked about all the problems, all the weirdness in it, but yeah, it's hard to like hate this movie, and it's hard to hard to hate it. It's hard to like dislike it, because it is so crazy. And yeah, I just want to read some reviews actually.
Oh yes.
So late night talk show hosts lampooned the film in their monologues. Conan O'Brien said, "The Mets are doing so badly they will be renamed the New York Gigli."
Wow, that's not that clever of a joke. Let's be real.
I know. Yahoo Movies rates Gigli number 1 on their bottom rated movies of all time. Wow. The Onion ran an article about the film titled Gigli focus groups demanded new ending in which Affleck and Lopez die. Which, again, I don't hate these. I mean, the characters are not likable, That's what makes the whole movie kind of funny. So I'm fine with them.
Yeah.
Like having of course, a sincere ending is necessary to wrap, to tie the bow on the movie, because it's a sincere movie when it absolutely should not be. Should not be a standard rom-com movie based on what goes on. Weird Al Yankovic's song "Virus Alert" from the album Straight Out of Linwood includes the line "Make your TV record Gigli" as one of the negative effects of the titular virus. To be fair, there are worse movies you could watch. In a 2013 episode of SNL, Fred Armisen plays Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, performing as Affleck in a movie parodying the creation of Argo, while Affleck is a member of the filming crew. When asked why he would appear in the film, he responded, "I wanted to make a film worse than Gigli." So there you go.
Wow.
It still has some cultural relevance in 2013, and hopefully in 2023 as well. Hopefully people look back on this movie and just, appreciate what went on. Before we talk about what we're going to be doing next week, we just have some receipts to go over with Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, yes, lovely.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Remember that movie?
Yes.
We actually never talked about what it got on Rotten Tomatoes. So you predicted it would get 62. I predicted it would get 59. It actually got 68. So it went up quite a bit from the initial rating it got after the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
American critics liked it better than the French ones. Not really surprising. That meant you basically had a score of 74 after that, and I have a score of 56. Of course, lower is better, so I was up by 18. And then, of course, we went through our Oppenheimer predictions. I was one closer because it was 93. I thought it'd be 92. You thought it'd be 95. So now I am 19 ahead of you, Michael. It is. It's been like that since May. Of course, I was 22 ahead of you after our Little Mermaid predictions, and now I'm all these months later. I'm still 19 ahead of you. And the thing is,
Little
Michael,
Mermaid, you really, that's been your golden goose.
Well, there's still some movies left. There's still movies left to be released, and we will see, like Wonka, for instance. We're looking forward to that. But anyway, Michael, can you tell me what we are reviewing next time?
Well, next time we are reviewing a slight change in the situation. We're reviewing Return of the King. We're finally finishing the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that is because it's the 20-year anniversary, just as it was with Gigli.
So join us for that next time. Here have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening to our review of Gigli, and goodbye.
Goodbye.